Okay, brother. Can you hear me? Let's
I
do a
can hear
sound
you
check.
now. I can
Okay,
hear you
good,
now.
good, good. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode with Metamorphosis, aka Neil Frazier. The fertile window is now open for the spiritual ovulation of Black people.
Yes. Yes.
And
Hey
yes,
man,
those are
that
powerful
banner.
words to put together, synergistic. When you speak of the fertile window
Yeah,
and
yeah,
spiritual ovulation of Black people,
yeah,
yeah, so that's powerful.
yeah,
And
yeah. And brother,
as we were
you know where
speaking
that
just a few,
comes from. No, oh,
say
go
it
ahead. I'm
again.
sorry. Go ahead. I'm
Oh no, I
sorry.
was just saying that as we were speaking earlier, nothing beats nature. You can
Hmm.
mix up your chemicals, you can have all of your concoctions, you can shoot needles into people, you can put out fertilizer to destabilize the natural connection that we have for food. You can do all of these things. You can put on whatever mask you want. You can shoot hormones in people. You can implant body parts that weren't meant for you. But at the end of the day, you can't beat nature. We are so minuscule compared to the system of nature. Your
Hmm.
little interruptions or costumes or playing pretend that something is something else other than what it is and the purpose for it, man can't change that.
No.
But yet they make laws and you have to accommodate this and this person wants to be called this and all of this stuff and you're wasting your time your purpose that the creator put us here for was not this little confused foolishness. Submit to nature and we'll all be powerful. Submit to nature on a mental, spiritual, and physical level, and we'll all be powerful. You can swim upstream to a certain point. When that tsunami comes, you can't do a damn thing about it. I don't know why I said all that. Brother, let me shut
Hey,
up.
well that was powerful. I felt you on that one
You got me
because
fired up.
well, that's a good thing, man. Get you fired up because this is a very very important topic that we're talking about today. And again, I want to greet
Yeah.
you, brother, and everybody under the
Yes.
sound of my voice that's in the chat room and other places. We know no matter what type of energy you use to block nature, nature goes where it's supposed to go in its time. And so, since we are the most natural beings on the planet, that means that there is nothing you can do except try to penalize us for speaking truth, which in itself, you know, the thing about truth is it's like energy can never be destroyed, right?
Right.
You can hide the truth, and I'll start out with a little story before we get into the presentation. But yeah, brother, there's something, you know, called righteous indignation, which you have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that's lost in people because so much has been taken away from us that connects us to the Meatan laws in which we're supposed to live by as melanated people.
That's right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and we're entering into the season of Mayat in July. You know, the and she represents, and this is going to be a part of our presentation today, where she represents divine order and structure that's based on truth and justice, and which encompasses all four of the netters: uh, air, water, fire, and earth.
Mm-hmm.
So when we begin to reconnect with nature, this is like you were saying, this is our powerful, really, this is our only way out. Okay.
Right.
If we're talking about, you know, reclaiming our birthright here on the planet, then it has to be done through the processes of nature. And that's why you know, when you look at particularly what we're going to discuss today, nature is our
Mm-hmm.
greatest teacher. We don't need anybody or any books or anything to tell us how we're supposed to live because that knowledge is already out there for us. So we're going to look at how Black people's spiritual ovulation and fertile window It's now. It's here. July, August, and September are the three most powerful months for us as a people. Our helical rising. Matter of fact, in August, and I'll just put this out there real quick. In August, the reason why we know that there's the banks of the Nile are going to overflow in any other river is because in August, the Sirius B, the brightest star in the heavens, is going to appear. So we automatically know from nature and being able to read celestial language, which we lived by according to our helical rising, we knew that it was time to plant. Okay. So this same mother principle exists in our presentation today. And when I always look to nature for answers to things. Sometimes it's revealed right away, but you got to know where to look because it's there. Okay, but you just got to know where to look. So to kind of open up with a little story, like I always like to do, there was three, let's call them demons, okay? And they were sitting around trying to discuss how they're going to continue to deceive humanity because apparently there's some kind of awakening going on. So they had this final piece of knowledge and wisdom that connected this knowledge to nature. And they said, well, what are we going to do with it? They said, well, let's take it to the moon. Man will never think to look for it there. Then one of the demons said, no. One day, man is going to build some type of rocket that's going to take them to the moon. We can't take that chance for them to find out. So the other one, he was sitting there kind of contemplating. He said, I got it. And they looked at him and said, what? He said, why don't we put it in the deepest parts of the ocean? Surely man will never be able to get there because of the pressure, right? So they thought about it. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a great idea. Let's do that. And then demon number one said, no. They said, one day there's going to be something called technology, and they're going to be able to go all the way even to the depths of the bottom of the ocean, and they may find it. We can't take that chance. And so they sat around for a minute, started smoking a little bit, take a little drink. They thinking, okay, what are we going to do? They hit a weed. What are we going to do? So then one of them jumped up. He said, I got it. He said, let's put it deep inside man. He'll never think to look for it there. And you see, that is where our biggest deception has happened to our people. Because we have allowed someone who has a God complex that operates off narcissism that wants you to always be if not a physical, a psychological and spiritual slave to them. Okay, because they know that the real power of the planet and the universe is connected inside you, the law of correspondence, as within, so without, as above, so below. And so when we get to these seasons, that's why you'll notice one of their biggest celebrations will come during the Mayan season in July. Okay, and that's not by coincidence. Okay, see, we are still playing checkers while they play chess because they don't have this connection that you have to natural or celestial events. So they have to lock you into a 90-degree compartmentalized way of interpreting the world in order to have any type of power over you. And all you got to do is study Richard King's Black Dot, and you'll know that their scientists have always known, and even Dr. Leola Africa, rest in power, brother, taught us this, that they have studied us since 1945. They studied melanin, and and no one with melanin is there. Even I think I heard Dr. Jewel Pookrum say this one time. No one with melanin is at these conferences. So you have a group of people studying that don't have the level of melanin we have, the real power, studying the people who have the most powerful connection to nature in the universe.
See that?
So yeah, so you go figure. So today, brother, if you want to put your band up there one more time, I want to open the presentation by saying that, thank you, that says that their biggest, when you look back from the very first time that they encountered our people, their biggest problem centered around their misogynistic nature, where they knew that the melanated woman, just like in nature, when you have the two greatest forces, electromagnetism, where the male energy is electro and the female energy is magnetic, then they knew that they had to put a wedge right down the middle of that picture right there you're looking at. And yes, I must say they have done a very effective job with this. However, that power can be broken over our people. But it's going to have to start, like I told the story, what's deep within you are the Mayatan laws in our chakras. And we, even if you do Reiki, I know Reiki has helped me, shout out to Dominic, have helped me discover more of this. And I have to say to our people that we cannot continue to go down this road that we've been on, okay? Black people have an intuitive nature like no other. There are things that we know that's in our genetic memory bank through the nectar of water that no one else has. There are things that we have inside of us, the fire ions, and we're going to talk about that too today, that no one else has. No one else has 12 melanated neurons in their brain but us. Medical doctors have already, our Black psychiatrists have already told us this. So it comes down to, a few things that we're going to discuss today, that the onus is on our people, okay? We don't have to blame other people and keep getting caught up into the emotional aspect of what they're trying to drag us into. Now that our pineal gland is fully open now, we have to start looking to nature to guide us. So today, thank you, brother. If you put up that first picture with the the sperm fertilizing the egg, yes. Now, this is, I love the cocoon experience, the metamorphosis and that lesson in nature where you go from a caterpillar to a butterfly. That's a serious psychological and spiritual, physical, psychological, and spiritual lesson. But when I look at the biology and what's within us, it blows your mind. Okay, so now the reason why the show is entitled what it's entitled today is because of this process right here. And this process exists in melanated women. And this is how we know, and this is why we know that the bitches and hoes and the way that they do have our women doing is a direct attack on the creatrix spirit. We know this. We can look and readily see this. So let's deal with what happens in this process here. Okay, so a space opens in the universe each time a melanated ovum or egg is fertilized on the planet, because you have a soul. So there has to be a space that's created for that soul. Okay, but interesting things happens. I'm glad I was able to find this picture, because at the moment of conception, they have identified what they call a zinc spark, which is basically fire irons. Okay, ions. Okay, it's a tiny flash of light occurs at the moment of conception. You see it right there when that melanated sperm hits that melanated egg. And this is when a sperm successfully fertilizes an egg. Now, why is this very important? Because during this period, now there's every time a male ejaculates, there are 300 to 500 sperms that are released. And all of them have the same goal, and they're focused on the same thing. And that is to get to that egg, to get through that fallopian tube, to get through that acidic river that's around that egg. Okay, because you are chosen. But imagine you're fighting against 499,000 other sperms who are just as determined. And if you've ever been in an athletic competition and you got somebody that's matching your energy, you know what I'm talking about. Lance knows what I'm talking about. I'm sure a lot of other people under the sound of my voice does. But imagine if Black folks would have this type of focus and energy on something, when that egg, or that cosmic egg, which is opening in July, from July 1st to September 30th, is the greatest time for melanated people in nature. Okay. So, and also we see the rising again, the helical rising of Sirius B in August. But I want that picture to stick in your mind right there. So why do we say that Black people's spiritual ovulation and fertile window is now? Because of the mother principle, which the egg represents, okay? Now, in the universe, in celestial phenomenon or celestial cycles, when stars die, they become black holes. And stars are then born out of black holes, which is a spiritual cycle, the way it's supposed to be. So that's why we know, you know, and we've always believed that the transitional cycle is circular, process is circular. Okay. But during this time, okay, when we'll talk about the ovulation and the fertile window, but during this period, okay, you must impregnate the egg mentally and spiritually, just like the biological aspect of nature, with new ideas and possibilities during the fertile window or the start of the Mayotan season in July. Now, and we also know in one of the videos recently, we talked about the 20-year window that exists with our people, and that Katrina also was a sign. Is in August will be 20 years exactly. So there are a lot of powerful things happening that we are connected to, that those that know this are actively fighting against this right here happening. Because once that zinc, once that flash go off, that zinc spark, it's over for them. So then this is where all the attacks began, even when you're attached to the umbilical cord and feeding off the blood of your mother. So let's talk about ovulation, all right, which is extremely important during this process. Now, the ovulation is the phase of the female cycle that involves the release of an egg or ovum from one of her ovaries. This generally begins 2 weeks or 14 days before menstrual cycle. And during this period, the counterfeit spirits will upload thousands of distractions to prevent you from focusing on this critical spiritual period, such as the P. Diddy trial, the immigration that's going on, and the emotional aspect of erasing your Black history, which can never happen, okay? Because we carry our history and our genetic memory bank. So let's talk about ovulation, okay? Now, during this 2-week period, okay, because actually the fertile window is 5 days prior to ovulation. Okay, you can a female can get pregnant, and also the possibilities of you connecting with nature exists. New ideas, new possibilities exist in that time period. Oh, and by the way, once you are in that egg and that flash goes off, the acidic river kills the rest of those hundreds of thousands of sperm. And that's what you have to do psychologically and spiritually. Once we have walked into our purpose, then we must kill those things that have destroyed us before. And that is our biggest challenge. Okay. I'll be really honest with you. And we're going to talk about that as well, because somehow we don't see, and Dr. Francis Cress Welsing taught us this about, how what they did to us in plantation politics, where they put the younger generation against the older generation, the men against the women, and any type of divisiveness was used. But the point is that once that flash goes off, then your power is sealed. So they even stole this saying you're sealed to the day of redemption, because they know, they have studied the teachings of our people, our Memphite priests. They know, and they have written narratives and scripts from what we know from nature. Okay, this is a fact. But again, during this 5-day period prior to ovulation, that's why the mother principle and the female principle is very, very important to our survival, okay, as melanated people. Now, you can try to follow these people that got 300 times more of the wealth that you have, trying to emulate them and put value on things. And by the way, I want to take a pause here, Lance, because I remember you used to say something very, very, very important when you talked about, okay, you can remove that, brother. Thank you. When you talked about how Black people give value to things that work against us, mainly materialism.
Mm-hmm.
And that if we would collectively burn the power of fiat out of our lives, we would be better off. And I heard this economist, Jeffrey, I think Tucker, young white guy from Harvard, say that the United States dollar today is only worth 4 cents out of the dollar. 96%, 96 cents of it is nothing. Because when you look at the history of Europe, and I won't go into an economic diatribe, but just to kind of shed a little light on this, this was something that the kings used to keep the people at the serf and peasant level, is that they would devalue. Anytime they get something of value, they would automatically devalue it. Just like when, this is what, when Richard Nixon decided to sell out. You know, that's why I don't listen to stuff about patriotism and all that. They don't care nothing about that. They tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
But he devalued the gold standard. Okay. And that really, really hurt us real bad, because that's when the Federal Reserve took over. And of course, we know, what's his name? Ben Bernanke, I think his name was.
Yeah.
He created trillions of dollars that didn't have any value. And right now, the United States pays $400,000 just in interest alone in foreign debt. So one of the real issues we have, and this is one of the reasons why they took our land and kept us from having land, is because land is the foundation of capitalism, where they exchange that for home ownership with us, which there's nothing wrong with owning a home. You just need to understand and comprehend that whoever has the deed to that property is the real owner. Okay. And you know, primarily mortgages allow you to, you know, borrow more money, buy more cars, do stuff like that. But as soon as you tell them you're going to open a business with it, guess what? All of a sudden, you're not.
No, right.
It's not available.
That's a big no-no.
Huh?
That's a big no-no.
Oh, yeah,
you want to open up a business? Oh no.
Oh yeah, no. That's when you find out, you know, what the real game is. So, and when we go down this, we're going to talk about why that's going to be a major handicap for our people moving forward. But yeah, this ovulation period is variable, and that's what we're moving into now, between July and September 30th. Is that we're moving into this ovulation where the cosmic egg, just like the female ovaries, is released. Now, another interesting thing happens. After this 5-day period where, you know, the egg can be fertilized, it waits. It's waiting on you, just like they're waiting on us now. Okay. So, but after that 5-day period, then that egg is only available for the next 12 to 24 hours. So if you miss that 5-day period, then now you're talking about 12 to 24 hours after that. So now that really decreases, according to nature, our ability to put energy into something that will help us grow and develop. Now, the most effective weapon that they use during this time, and they know this, again, they have studied us since 1945, melanin. The most effective weapon that they use during this time is that they have our people emotionally involved with things that really doesn't concern us. Okay, because Black people don't make decisions about how America is ran. Okay, let's just keep this real. So what that means is you as a nation or people are responsible for the things that are important to our people. But here again, we've taught our young people, because a lot of older people. So, and I want to go, I want to talk about something too that's important involving this, is in a lot of ways, so we react to when people that don't have the power we have make decisions. And so they, they say, well, we're taking away the money for the Department of Education. That's a good thing for us. Okay. That's a very good. So our issue is we have to cut the umbilical cord. That's very, very important. Okay, fine. Break down the department. That means that we have more power to teach truth to our children. That's what that means. Instead of you worrying about, rather, because at the end of the day, and this is what our people don't want to face too. Yes, they can keep printing money, but these other countries, what do they call it? BRICS. They are all
BRICS nations.
Yeah, their currency is backed by some type of commodity. So Black folks don't have. So this is one of the real reasons why they divide us from the diaspora, particularly our African brothers and sisters, is because that's where our real power is. When you look at, and I spent the day looking at the 25 different projects that this brilliant young brother that they try to snuff out has created. He's taken trash, okay, and created jobs for people.
Yep.
Now, this is real leadership, okay? So what does that tell you? If someone wants to destroy because a parasite has been sucking off of them, and now they're saying no, you created the largest banana plantation, onion. See, these things are already in nature. You just have to have somebody that has a melanated mind that recognizes this and have cut the umbilical cord to this other crap.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a huge blueprint. And the other thing too, so they said, well, Burkina Faso, these are the games they play with our people, is a landlocked country. Oh, really? So this young brother said, oh yeah, well, fine. Built the first port in a landlocked country. An actual port that you see operating on, on water.
Right.
So in his mind, well, we can build a port. It doesn't have to. Who says that it has to be on a water, based by water? Okay, you say we're landlocked as if that's going to stop us from prospering. No.
Right.
So this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about we now, as Black Americans, as Sun people now, we have to take our level of thinking higher. We can't get bogged down in these emotional tirades and fights because it's not going to help us in the long run. It's only going to put us against each other.
And it's not going to last. The emotional way of doing things to drive us to do it doesn't last.
No, it doesn't, because it doesn't have a foundation. It's not rooted in anything.
Right. You can use that energy as it comes, but you can't depend on that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Discard it, right?
That's sustainable.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. That's sort of like I heard somebody say one time, Black folks with religion is like somebody having a boat to get across a big river, and then when they get on land, they carry the boat on their back. So, because each phase, just like, that's why Black people being cut off from nature has really hurt us the most, because nature teaches us about germination periods. So when things are planted, okay, there are several processes that are necessary during that germination process. It has to be fertile soil, there has to be water, and it has to be vitamin D or sunshine or radiation, whatever you want to call it. These elements and this process in nature teaches us that we need that. That's why now there are some things that you can accomplish on your own, but when there are things that are connected to something bigger outside of you, and your energy is needed to fuel that, then you might, and that's one of the things I respect about you, brother. I always say that you have an ability that very few of our brothers, they have taught us against this, where you can work and help somebody and be in the background and not take credit for something, but you're doing the yeoman part of the work. And see, this is something that's really hurt us about being on the plantation politics, is that we feel like if we're not the head nigga in charge, then, and if we're not seen as the one, and again, this comes from the people that have taught us this. They did a masterful job. I have to give them credit for that. I have to give them credit for that. So if you would put that picture up with our ancestors in the clouds, and they're trying to, not that one, the other one. I'm gonna come back to that one though. Yeah. So yes, this is powerful in the sense that we are connected to the celestial, our ancestors that have transitioned, and also our higher consciousness. When we get to the 963 hertz, okay, we're able to connect with this energy. And I wish I would have shown my favorite, the Earth, Wind, and Fire downloads. You know, when they're connected to that electromagnetism when they hit the planet. But so this picture is very important. I'm going to talk about this for a minute, because see, they appear during this fertile window. Because when that egg is released from that ovary, and this is like we talked before off camera, brother, about why they are attacking this principle in our social, interactions, is that this is a direct attack on the creatrix spirit, because that energy, that magnetism is necessary in order to make things connect. So when we talk about the fertile window, okay, you most likely, and I explained this already, but you most likely will be able to conceive during the 5 days prior to ovulation, but it drops to only 12 to 24 hours after ovulation. Okay, and this is where you see that power of our people, you see that fire. Okay, and when our people recognize this time, and you see all the elements, you see the water. Okay, you see when you see these Mayatin, or you see the nectar connected, when you see earth, when you see fire, when you see air, and you see water, then you know this is the root foundation of germination for melanated people. And that's why they are appearing there right now, because they're waiting for you to connect to that power. So if you have intercourse physically, psychologically, or spiritually with someone during this period, during this fertile window, when the egg is present, then this is one of nature's greatest connections right here. And we just focus on that for a minute, because our energy is always there for us. So we have to get away from looking to, because the system that exists that we've been raised on, that system no longer exists. They're just making you, still trying to make you feel secure. Okay. But that system no longer exists. So one of the things that they did, and we talked about this before, is when one of our brothers or sisters are successful in that system, then eventually they go back and they repossess all of the things that the Luciferians gave them at the expense of our culture in terms of, our growth and development. Because really, in that world, all they do is just perpetuate whatever the narrative is in that industry. So very seldom does it. The way it affects us is when we have our people trying to emulate that. So that's one of, this picture really tells the story of the divine structure and divine law of correspondence, as above, so below. All right, brother, if you put that last picture up there for me.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk about, yes. So now this is what they're afraid of whenever they're talking about hauntings and ghosts and stuff like that, because they know that our ancestors are there, mainly around trees. So they want to cut down all the trees. Okay. And then they also want you to go in buildings instead of, your greatest spiritual revelations come when you're sitting under a tree or by water.
Yeah, that's true.
People. And so, and I've said this before, Lance, that one of the biggest things that they did to co-op our spiritual connection with nature is when they said our people starting to go inside of facilities where they were cut off from Ra, or the Father, the life-giving Son. And so now that was one of the biggest things that they did that really cut our people off from our power. And then we came under their sorcery when we were inside those buildings, or still are. But when we're out with our ancestors like this, again, you see fire, you see trees, you see the earth. Okay, so, this is where our greatest, if you want to gather together as a group, you don't need to pay a whole. And here's the other thing too, brother. And I remember like maybe 4.5 years ago, I ran across this female, and she said, well, where's your school at? I said, are you looking at it? She started laughing. She said, what do you mean? I said, you're looking at it. She said, no, I mean, is there a physical building to go to? I said, yeah, me. Because see, wherever I am, that's where the academy is. But you have been taught, which 99.9% of us can't afford to pay a lease or a rent on a building, let alone buy one. Okay. You don't need to emulate. Okay. That's why, the way that they have taught our people is if you're not emulating them, and this comes from that bourgeois class that, that held this position over our people, that if you're not emulating them materialistically, then you have not arrived, or what you're doing doesn't have any value. Your greatest power is being around a campfire, near a tree, and that is when your greatest spiritual downloads come. I don't care what nobody says. This is where your greatest revelations come from. So you can see the camaraderie where, our people are close together. They're, they can actually feel, in some cases, see the energy of our ancestors, but certainly through that fire that's evoking them. And I told you about that experience I had when I went in this big Catholic church, just to sit in the back to see, what kind of energy. It was cold. They had a big picture of Caesar Borgia in the back, and all of them touched when they came in. And I was sitting in the back, and this church was huge. And they come there during the, during noon. And I took a break, and I said, I want to go. I just want to see what's going on. These people going in here. And so they had these priests stand up there in the pulpit area with these white robes. And all of them were like chanting, and saying stuff. They were standing up. And so when those priests finished what they were doing, they all walked and disappeared in the back. I was like, oh, interesting. People still standing there chanting, right? With their candles. And it was so cool. It just felt, I was like, the spirit of the creator creatrix is not in here. I don't care what nobody say. It's not in here. And so all of a sudden, it was almost like you could feel something changing, the air changing. And lo and behold, I looked around, and this white guy in a black robe walked in, looked like he just walked out of a tomb. He didn't even acknowledge Caesar Borgia picture like all the rest of them did. He just walked straight by, picked up a candle, and walked to the pulpit. And as soon as he got in the pulpit, all of them sat down. I was like, yep, it's time for me to go right the hell now. Because it looked like some kind of seance or something was getting ready to go down. And I was like, I don't want to participate in this. I don't know what this is, but I read signs. And so that's the significance of our people in not only being under a tree, but invoking having the fire there. And we know that we've always had the relationship with the net of fire that was corrupted into the Holy Spirit. And if you don't believe me, just go back and listen to some of the slave narratives, the first ones that was done by some of the actors and actresses, Black actresses and actresses, actors and actresses, where they repeated this word, living fire, this term. And then later on, as our people got more religious in the churches, they changed it to the Holy Spirit or Holy Ghost. I know this as a fact. I spent years researching this. So, okay, brother. So, during this period, and kind of winding this down, I call it the melanin wars during this period that we're in right now. And during this period, each month, because they are aware, particularly now, their senses are heightened because they know that's why they have to stay close to us, because they can read things off of our behavior. Okay, but the deceivers and opposers of the creator creatrix natural laws are actively fighting to prevent you from acting during this fertile period and fertile window. Now, this is, in the beginning, I said that the biggest battle that our people are facing is the fact that we are not functioning as a nation. And why I say that is because a nation develops its young people. And see, that's why they're cutting and slashing all these other programs that we used to have growing up, that helped us. But again, this is an opportunity for Black folks to teach our children more, as long as we don't, use the divisiveness that they use against us. So, but this is the biggest problem that we're facing right now, as far as our generational development, is that we need more farmers. Okay. Or at least we need to formulate some kind of group that actually goes out and let our children experience what it is. And some of these Black farmers, they're not always going to be around. A lot of them are older. Let them teach our children. You know why? Because as a farmer, you've been taught, although we are the original farmers, even here not just in the Kibalon, but right here on Turtle Island, we taught them about the plant and harvest seasons. We taught them this celestial knowledge about agriculture, okay? But they took this away from our people, so they tell you when you dance in front of a camera and you flash fiat, then that's a greater role than you actually depending on Mother Earth, okay, to supply our needs. And just like with the barter system, that's how our people survive. They were very angry. That's why a lot of those Jim Crow laws, they tried to keep Black folks from, coming together and doing things, because they knew our people were smart. You can say they were illiterate. They probably were better off being illiterate, to be honest with you. And when we say illiterate, that doesn't mean that they're stupid. It just means that they were forbidden on pain of death to learn the king's language. Okay, which is a deceptive, bastardized language. Okay, so this is the problem. Our young men, or young women for that matter, when someone says you should study agriculture or farming, they look at that in a negative way, because they have been taught that your value is based on an illusion of material success. And that has really hurt our people over the generations. The other thing is we need more engineers. We need young Black engineers. Because the people from these other cultures, that's what they're studying for a reason when they start rebuilding the soil here. Because the Kibalon is way ahead, thanks to their young, brilliant brother. And thanks to people like you, the Kibalon is far ahead in terms of seeing, okay, that, you must put this stuff in motion. So what happens is they have taught our people to penalize each other. Well, why ain't you blah, 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 why aren't you? This is not about you, and this is not about me. Our people can't even produce toilet paper. What if they say, well, we're not going to even produce any more toilet paper in areas, because they know they still have the same redlining system. They know they can just pull your zip code up or your social security number, and they know where you live.
Yep.
So what if they say you can't buy no more toilet paper? That you're going to go back to using leaves in an outhouse? See, we are under such a heavy delusion that we can't even think rationally, because we're attacking each other over nonsense, and then attacking other people over nonsense. The other thing is we need more architects like you, brother. We need architects that can design state-of-the-art things for our people and don't worry about how much fiat they make off of it. Sure, you need to make a profit to survive in this system. But, I used to watch this show called American Greed. I stopped watching. I just got fed up with it.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're two different people. And so if you buy into the fact that your value is attached to ICE ideology, then you have lost already.
Yep. Some
people cannot be successful using ICE ideology. That's just the way it is. This is not Neil Frazier saying this. This is scientific nature. The other thing is we need builders. Okay, we need builders. This is something, again, other cultures, they teach their people how to build. Okay, and so when you're talking about nation building, like Dr. John Henry Clark always warned us, we're gonna have a problem. Who's gonna pick up the trash for Black people? If they say you live in a zip code, we no longer picking up trash, what you gonna do? What are you going to do? What if they say, even though a Black man was responsible for coming up with the technology for refrigerated trucks, so nobody would get any food, the food would spoil before it got where it was going. Then what if they say, well, we're not delivering food to this zip code anymore? Then what?
Right.
We need more electricians. Okay. Although, you know, people that are connected and learning solar is good. That's a good thing. But there is an electrical element, unless you go off grid, then you're good. And these are the types of things that we need to be focusing on. Stop being on YouTube and TikTok beefing with other people and your brothers and sisters. We don't have time for that. Now, there are people who, everybody has their lane. Everybody have their purpose. Again, one of the things they try to do to us too is make us monolithic. We need people in all areas of thinking, like the toolbox analogy that Lance always uses. A hammer cannot worry about what the hell a screwdriver is supposed to do. Okay, and a wrench can't worry about what a nail is doing. So everybody has their purpose, and the sooner we get this and then connect, because again, we're gonna have this issue when we get into a room, rather than, you know, everybody saying, well, this is what I can bring to the table, because really that's how it's supposed to be. Everybody bring their gift to the table. We got a jambalaya situation, and bam, here we go, cooking. So we need more medical doctors, believe it or not, because they've taken out our women. Black women die at 3 times the rate as white women giving childbirth. Okay. And they're getting younger in the teenage ages. These are the things. Well, how do we know what they're giving our pregnant sisters when they go up in these places, these death camps? How do they know what we give? Well, we know they're giving us blood pressure, giving them high blood pressure medication, insulin. What's the other one? There are a couple of more medications that they're giving our people. As soon as you get any kind of diagnosis, that's why I don't go there.
Right.
If a fruit or vegetable can't solve it, then guess what? I'm just going to have to deal with it. It's just that simple. But I'm not going to any of their death camps looking for any type of relief. Even, you know, old basketball injury pain that I deal with that holistically. So at the end of the day, these areas, now the other thing besides these areas that I mentioned in terms of our growth and development as a nation of people, because we are a de facto nation, okay? We are a nation within a nation. Black people are. That is a fact. And not only that, we produce. I don't know of any other de facto nation that actually produces and consumes the nation that oppresses them all of their products and deny their own people anything. That's crazy, huh? That,
You're right.
it's twisted, bro. And so finally, I know this. All you gotta do is ask any of them or see what they're doing. All of our children want to be either rappers. I ain't got nothing against music, but we can't have all our children being rappers. NBA players. Basketball helped shape my life. I ain't got nothing against that. But we cannot have all of our children focus on trying to be NBA players. Okay. And we know why that is. And then worshiping thuggery, because this is just a tool for the prison industrial complex.
Yep.
You know, okay, if the ones that want to be thugs, let them go ahead. But this is not something that we can pass down to the majority. Now, we got people in the 50s and 60s that's still doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there is a thing called natural karma. Okay, so as a chosen primordial seed on the planet, when you enter a certain phase of your life, then you are responsible for certain things. It doesn't matter if you have failed at other things, and don't let people hold things over your head. I'm talking to brothers now, because we know how they do this. But that does not mean that you cannot champion other areas, because our young men sorely need, particularly now that we have everything, ramped up against our people. Okay. Because ultimately, you're the ones that can cause their genetic annihilation. And with that, brother, I'll conclude today. So,
Yes, brother. Thank you so much. What a deep message and profound as always. And one thing that I want to just say over again that you said,
yeah,
they can't decipher what's in the air. They can't pick up
that's right.
what's happening in the universe. So this is why they have to watch us and stick close to us.
That's an excellent point.
Well, that's what you said earlier in a different way, but that is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
This is why no matter what, they have to keep their eyes on us.
Yeah, they do. They have to. And if they don't do that, then because they're still worried about even me and you doing this show.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you know what's so crazy? So this, I think I told you, I'll mention it here. My main Facebook channel was hijacked by this person that has issues with his manhood. Now, why in the world would I want to, and I'll call him out. His name is Sebastian.
Mm-hmm.
He's a homosexual. I don't know why someone would, I don't want no other man's or woman for that matter, Facebook account. For what?
Right.
It's just, so this vampire type of behavior, they have taught our people, because our people do the same thing. They get jealous of each other over things. Look, knowledge is knowledge. Just like when they talk about Christopher Columbus discovering America. How can you discover something? So the information that we talk about has already been here on the planet. That's why Europeans can't take credit for the knowledge that our people produce. It was on the planet hundreds of thousands of years before they came into existence.
Right.
So the thing that's going to really be an uphill battle for us, brother, is the last part about what I talked about with our young people. That is going to be a big battle for us as a nation of people. I don't have all the answers. I will say that there are good things that can come out of those areas I mentioned, but they have to be acknowledged first. Because you can't solve a problem if you don't acknowledge the source of that problem, right? So and then you can't go back to the same source in which those problems or problem originated from, and looking for that source to solve the problem they created in the first place. So, yeah, so we got a real, we're facing a real uphill battle in those areas, brother. But keep up the tremendous work, man. Hold on to the belts. I see you in the ring that much this week for whatever reason. I know you got a lot of projects going on.
Oh, got a lot. I got a lot going on. So whenever you see it slowing down a little bit,
yeah,
it's because I'm juggling a lot.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
sometimes in a month it squeezes in and it opens up, but I'm still here. We're gonna keep on going.
All right, brother. Well, take care, man, and keep doing the tremendous work, and I'll be in touch with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother.
Yes, sir.
You're a blessing. All right.
Yes, sir.
Much love.
Much love.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see what we have here. Yes, indeed. Another one in the can. Yes, and I have definitely been pushing myself, and the results will be consistency and we'll be seeing soon. We have to strategize, have to cut through whatever's put in front of us as far as a boundary is concerned. I laugh because that's validation. When they fight so hard on you, you know that you're doing something right. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And much love to you, Diane, Giant Gain, everybody who came tonight. I'll just acknowledge everybody real quick. Yes, King Ja, Sweetberry 32, and who Chance, we be scurving them. Renee Green, let me scrolling up to the top. And for all the other people who didn't come into the chat room, I see you. I see your numbers. And I'm very appreciative of that because you could be doing something else. I definitely have to get up extremely early in the morning. I'm going to have to beat the sun up. So right now it's 8:08 p.m. That must sound funny to those in the United States right now. So I was up from early and I'm going to do some things and knock this stuff out and continue to work. Most definitely. You all are a blessing. And I thank you all for being here and having the wonderful minds and mindsets that you have. Thank you so much. Peace.